if we were to like then submit the show for drama, like I'm sure we would get like a bunch of pissed off people about that too.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. Don't hate the player. Fucking hate the game. I mean, it's like, what do you want us to do? Like not make the show?
This is a good one. I am Jesse David Fox, senior writer, Vulture, and author of Comedy Book. My guest this week is Ebon Moss-Bachrach, one of the great actors working, be it in comedy or drama or on a famous TV show that exists in the gray area between the two. So yeah, we talk about The Bear. We also talk about Fantastic Four, Girls, and the stage version of Dog Day Afternoon, which Ebon is currently in on Broadway. So here is Ebon Moss-Bachrach. I'm here with Ebon Moss-Bachrach. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So the first question we asked, what is the funniest, strangest, or most fascinating thing that happened to you this week?
I was reflecting on this on my bike ride over, and it just was, it was just a desert, comedy desert, and it really was depressing, you know. But then, do you cycle at all, or do you run or anything? Okay,
I have actually neither. I am not a cardio exerciser.
Okay. Well, if you ever find yourself in the bike lane on the Brooklyn Bridge,
Sure.
This is not funny, but I found it really interesting was that it's like it's become this sort of channel of people living out their kind of sci-fi cosplay sort of dreams, and the people that I pass there's all these different kind of like, I don't know, versions of electric transportation.
Sure, yeah,
now I'm not trying to sound like folksy or like an anti, I'm not trying to sound like super middle aged or anything, but it's wild and it's pretty cool. But there was a man, I'd never seen this. He was on, well, first there was like a guy on like one of those podium things, and he had like a really kind of really sophisticated looking like body armor and like a very yellow fly like kind of reflective mask. But then I got behind somebody who was on one of those skateboards, it's like a platform but with a big wheel in the middle of it, one big wheel.
I know that one.
And he had a follow drone. There was a drone flying behind him about 10 feet that was just, maybe it was filming him, maybe it was just like there. And I was like, I was really struck by where we're at.
Yeah. The mundanity of this person's commute to work, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Is intentionally having a drone follow himself.
Yeah, I was wondering, is it for safety? Is it like an extension of the kind of the GoPro mounted on your helmet, like that kind of a thing for like preemptive legal purposes or something? But this just felt kind of more recreational and a fantasy sort of situation. So I was thrilled for him. And were I a funnier person, I'm sure I could weave that raw material into some sort of a,
One day we'll find, one day we'll see in the Fantastic Four someone have a drone behind them, and then you'll be able to channel it.
Okay, well, yeah, or I'll offer it up to a future guest of yours.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if I have this correct, you shot Avengers Doomsday last spring and summer. You then shot Ira Sachs' next movie and Andrew Hayes' movie in the fall, which went right into shooting the 5th season of The Bear, which I believe wrapped production a few weeks before you did Dog Day, and then Dog Day runs through the summer, and then Avengers Secret Wars shoots in August. That's the timetable. This is all to say, why in that time in the middle do you go, I need to do this play? Give me all the reasons. This is not a judgment. I want to, because this is, one could be like, I'm good, I got my year kind of set, but like this is an opportunity why you're like, I'm going to do this. Both
the short answer is it was a big mistake. I think I screwed up. The longer answer is, you get all of those are really exciting, inspiring projects to me, and you sort of throw a bunch of stuff and see what sticks, and this play I've been working on for a couple of years. I've been involved with it and workshopping it, and it's been really important for me to do this, and I felt like it was time to do a play again and really wanted to, whatever, for any reason. But then everything kind of worked out, and so I've been really grinding, and yeah, I'm pretty tired, but this play is a hard play. It's a very funny play, so I thought it might be kind of light and fizzy and sort of buoyant and playful and sort of lift at one point. But at this point, for me and for the guy I play, his journey and everything, it's not fun per
Yeah.
se, you know?
Yeah. It is based on it's based on a news story that was turned into a movie, famously Dog Day Afternoon. And you play the part that in the movie is played by John Cazale. When you're thinking about the part, how did you want to hypothetically honor John's performance, but also make it something that's your own? Like, you couldn't hypothetically do something that's so fully divorced that people would almost think that you're running away from it. How did you modulate that?
My first instinct would be to run in another direction, you know, because he's one of the greatest film actors ever, and you know, and also his performance was created in close-ups for the most part, and to realize that on stage is it's like really hard to make that transition. So I don't know how you would do that, but you know, when you're doing, for me, when I'm doing this like long run of a play and I've got to do it 140 something times, I'm like hungry for inspiration anywhere, you know. And I have so much admiration for Cazale and for what he stood for as an actor, and his performances and his dedication and his curiosity and it was just tireless. That I'm really, you know, and I know so little about Salvatore Naturale, who was the actual man who died that day on August 22nd, 1972. So like, I'm really trying to honor in my own way. I'm trying to, you know, make, you know, Cazale proud as much as I can, you know, I mean, you know, that's kind of like lofty and sort of like, how do you do that from line to line? I don't know, but I got like I do have a picture of him in my dressing room, and I do feel like a responsibility and a gauntlet like thrown down there. Am I living up to it? Absolutely not. Like, I mean, but I'm trying.
Yeah,
you know.
You mentioned how the experience for your character in the play, it's a heavier thing, and I'm going to ask you maybe a stupid question about acting, and you can tell me if it is.
You've seen the play?
Yeah, I've seen the play.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, so Sal is a tragic character. I will not spoil the ending of the movie and the play, but it ends not well for him.
Yeah.
So the play ends, you're in this sort of really not great situation, and then lights off, curtain call, and you have to immediately like be gracious to the audience. I am curious, for an actor in a sort of more tragic part, what emotionally goes through you when you have to end the show and immediately like break the wall and like say hello and thank you to the audience? Like, can you, or are you essentially like putting on a new character, which is Ebon, who is happy that everyone showed up? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense, and it's something I think about a lot. So there's the magical things that happen, right? Like, I tragically, I mean, my guy goes down, you know, he you know, he bites the dust, and then the lights come down, and this other actor I'm working with, sort of in a certain part of this stage, they reach down and sort of extend their hand and sort of pick me up and resurrect me, and we walk off the stage together in the dark, and that's this kind of really heady, awesome moment where, you know, of you know, the dead have risen, and I don't have any interaction with this character during the rest of the play, but we have this really beautiful walk from stage left to stage right in the dark that I really cherish this moment. It also means like, we fucking did it. We could cross another one off. And then the lights come on and we run out, and then we get to this point where you sort of have to be gracious, and, you know, the bows are as much about thanking the audience. You know, it's not, I don't think of it as like, clap for me. It's me, you know, it's a nice moment of communion between audience and players, where we can sort of exchange that everyone's sort of in the light together, and we can have we can look each other in the eyes. I'm not particularly like me, Ebon, in that time. I'm in a sort of weird kind of liminal space kind of thing. Not that I'm like go deep into character, you know, I don't, you know, but it's just a lot has happened literally 30 seconds before, and I'm just kind of, it's like when you've been, I don't know, in the dark and all of a sudden the lights are turned on, it takes a second for your eyes to adjust. Exactly. So it's something similar to that. I've had times in my past, I've died in a bunch of plays, and in some of the other plays that I've done, and this is when I was a lot younger, I would do these kinds of more things like this. In a few plays, I would die and I would be gone for the last 25 minutes of the play. And then I would go out onto the street, smoke a joint, and maybe like have like a shot of vodka or something, and then come back and take my bow. And that was an incredible experience because that was like,
that sounds nice.
I had nothing to do. I barely remembered the play at that point, and it was just me, Ebon, walking into a room and just like having like 300 people like clap for it, and that was like just a delightful experience.
So does it take you now post-show a few minutes or an amount of time to like be a person again?
I think it takes, I'm not like chatty and the life of the party, but I think it's probably different from night to night. And yeah, sometimes it goes away really quickly and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't really know why ever.
Yeah. The other thing is, as you're saying, it's a funny play and it plays really funny. Like definitely like plays funnier than the movie does, but you're often not part of that. For much of the play, you're standing in the background and people are seemingly having fun and you sort of loom either like in emotional or literal physical pain. You also sort of like represent the fact that at any moment things can go really sideways and he's like established as the more violent character. But like you hear the laughter, you're there. Is it something you have to fight against? Is it something that you like? This is again, these are stupid questions about theater acting. No. But I'm so curious, like people are laughing. I know what it feels like to be like I was in the audience, but also what to be on stage when people are laughing at you and it's like exhilarating, but you have to sort of be in it. It's something that you have to fight against.
No, it is not hard. I don't find myself getting drawn into the party life of what's happening. I mean, the given circumstances of this players, this is a robbery. There are hundreds of police outside, that want to like take my character and John Bernthal's character, Silent Sunny. They want to, they want to lock us up. They want to take away our freedom. They want to put us in a cage, and my guy is very, very, he would rather die than go back to prison. So that's very real. And I think what seems crazy is everybody else in the bank who seems to forget that this is a very, very serious situation. Other times, other plays that I've done, I'm guilty often of breaking, laughing on stage. It's such a kind of strange type, it's such a bizarre thing to do a play, and absurd in so many ways that it is kind of giddy, and I have laughed and inappropriately. This play so far, I'm
you're in it.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not laughing. No.
As a fan of yours, it was hard not to somewhat think about the conversation or discourse around the idea of if the bear is a comedy, a conversation that the sense I have is almost everyone involved in the show does not like having. Before I make whatever point I'm going to make, I want to give you the floor to talk about why you find that conversation annoying.
Well, I don't find that conversation annoying. This is cagey for you to set me up before you. I feel like I want to hear your take.
Oh, sure, I'm happy to. This is the reason I almost as a sort of like philosophical exercise, I've talked about The Bear as a comedy sort of on a structural level. And in my book, Comedy Book, which is right over there.
Okay.
In stores now.
Yeah.
But so the idea is not unlike this play, which is like comedy beyond the sort of it's a thing with jokes. Is it a thing that plays with tension and relieves tension? And when I watch The Bear, I see it as, if anything, if you remove the narrative aspects of it, it is a thing that is like building up and relieving tension. It just plays with how long you can delay that tension. Yeah. But all comedy is just deciding the length of time between setup, which is tension building, and releasing. For Bear Season 1, famously, it was kind of building for 10 episodes, and then at the end plays, to me, extremely funny. I think in many ways, Season 3 was all building up for the release of Season 4. That's how I view it, but I have a sort of comedy brain, and I think in many ways this play similarly plays with tension, that your character represents the tension aspect of it, and everyone else gets to play in it. But if your character wasn't there, I don't think it would be as funny and or sort of dramatically interesting, because it would be just like these people are making. You would lose the feeling of why it's odd that they're making jokes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a lot. Okay. So let's talk about The Bear for
sure.
first. I think the bear is really funny.
Yes.
And I especially think that first season is really funny.
Yeah, 100%. And the second season's really funny.
And the second season, and then but what I struggle with a little bit is people pointing fingers at like Chris Storer and us for like, it's not a comedy. Like, these are categories that have been made a long time ago, and I'm not really involved in the categories. And it's also, a lot of it is like down to like the length of time that something is. Like, I think there's like technical things. So like, if they want to create a new category, like I'm into it, because I think that just like these ideas of like comedy and drama are a little bit, antique and kind of silly. So, I'm with it. I think if we were to all of a sudden, first of all, none of us really even care about like this awards anyway. So like, I was like, if we were to like then submit the show for drama, like I'm sure we would get like a bunch of pissed off people about that too.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, don't hate the player, hate the game. It's like, what do you want us to do? Like, not make the show? I don't know. So I don't have a good answer for that. And again, like, I do think it's like a very funny show at times. I think the like level of volume that my character is at, and the full realization of his expression and his inner monologue, like, I think that stuff is really great and really funny. I also think the fifth season is a really funny season. And going back to the play, and what I also think that like humor comes out of, like, I don't tell jokes, you know what I mean? I'm not good at that. And I like jokes, but I ain't great at that. And like, what I do think I'm like kind of good at is like committing to given circumstances and playing things for keeps. And I think when you go hard and pursue objectives and play the truth of something, there is tragedy everywhere. So I don't put on like a different hat for when I'm playing one thing or the other, which I'm sure you've probably heard. Probably many actors say that. And I think I think that's right, because I think you find truth out of, I think you find comedy out of the truth of the thing. The first thing I ever did was a TV movie for Andy called Murder in a Small Town, that was written by and starred Gene Wilder. And one of the things he told me, we were talking about comedy one day, and he said there was a pivotal thing in his life when he was watching Charlie Chaplin, and there was this, I can't remember which movie it was, but Charlie Chaplin is at a parade or something, and there's a man in front of him is holding a little boy. Little boy's eating a hot dog. And so Charlie Chaplin leans forward and takes a bite of the hot dog, and then the man kind of turns around. And rather than like, do a whole kind of fan dance of like pretending, he just really just sucks that hot dog in there and plays it, for real. And this was like a really, this was a turning point for the great Gene Wilder, and something that, I've always remembered.
Yeah, I think it's the idea that Steve Carell says, which is the character does not know they're in a comedy or a drama. So if you play it that way, there's like, obviously there's extreme examples where comedic actors are asked to go find reality beyond sort of reality. But for the most part, in the things you're playing it real, and it's sort of, by playing it real, it can be funny if it is funny, but by playing it real, it is also dramatic because you're playing it real.
And what you change is those circumstances, and you can heighten those things and turn it into sort of absurd situations. But that's the external things around you. That's not the playing of the thing. So, and I do think that in Dog Day Afternoon, my character has a lot of really funny lines, like very, very funny things happen to him and out of it. But I can't go for those things.
You can't like smirk.
Oh my God, no.
It would break the play if for some reason, like if he thought he was being cute, it would be rough.
Yeah. And he does provide a lot of the danger and the reminder of what is going on there. But it's lonely. I'll tell you that much. It feels lonely up there a lot of the time.
Yeah, because you're like standing in the back part of the stage, and like a lot of the action's happening.
Yeah, he kind of like finds his own little corner of the thing and just sort of watches and waits.
It is an interesting thing to watch the play, because I knew I was going to be talking to you, to watch mostly you, and it'd be like I would be like, I would feel bad for you, and obviously that's part of it, but you just be like, he doesn't get to do any of this like fun. until I guess later in the I guess there's some moments.
There's some connect. No, he does have some. He does start to find some kind of connection, but it's not. It's not for lack of trying. They invite him in.
Yeah.
They try to bring him in, but he's just not really in a place to hear that. But his quietness, and I love listening. Like I would rather listen than talk in any kind of part most of the time, and that's one of the pleasures of doing this play, is getting to just take this stuff in and watch and listen. And that's, I find, like oftentimes in movies, I'm so much rather have the coverage be of the person not talking. I mean, we can hear what the person's saying anyways, so why not see what the person is thinking on the other end of the conversation?
Yeah. I had the pleasure of seeing Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen do Waiting for Godot on Broadway. Did you see it?
I didn't see it.
It's one of the great experiences I've ever had, period. It's like a borderline religious experience. And at the end of that show, the characters look at each other and they sort of find love in this sort of post-apocalyptic existential wasteland of the show. But as a person watching it, they're the people, and because they're so famous, they're playing with that. And you can feel underneath the relationship of those people as well, and it feeds each other. This is all to say, you and John Barenthal are friends. You have us, though obviously it's a different type of show, there is a sort of like affection you have each other in this sort of existential times of the show. How does the real life feelings you have from feed into how, when you are shooting, how does your real life feelings feed into the performance?
Well, first of all is trust. And I just have complete trust in him as a person, as an artist, actor, whatever, so I'm down to kind of go down any path that he really wants to go down. I'll run through the woods not knowing where I'm headed with him. That's fine. And then our relationship in the play is not it's not really our relationship in real life. I think for my character, I think for Sal, Sonny is this sort of one connection into the world. I think he's in many ways like his sun and his moon and his mom and his dad, and John's a lot to me, but he ain't all that. And I don't want to speak too much for John, but it's I think he's got a great deal of love. I mean, the character he's playing is an incredibly generous soul and a real like amazing interest in people and an ability to connect with all kinds of people, which John genuinely does have. And I think his humanity is so cranked up that he can penetrate all these shells and protective walls that Sal has put up. So I don't know, the relationship's a little bit different, a lot different than our personal relationship, but there is a connection, and there's many times, over the course of the evening where I look and, I'm looking into my friend's eyes, and I do feel sort of taken care of, loved, and like grateful to be there with him, which is a nice little very few islands, these like islands, and then vast
like just keep you safe,
ocean, shark filled waters in between.
Based on some interviews I've read of yours, the sense I have is you really love acting. Like even beyond your enjoyment of performance, you really love being with actors and writers and directors, doing the thing of the job of making a thing. And there's some stories coming out that the workshopping of this show was contentious, specifically between the writer and one of the producers. And I'm not asking you to comment on that unless you want to. Doesn't seem like
I probably won't. Yeah.
It's not really about that. Yeah. My question is really about, as a person who loves the process of acting, how do you think about it or reconcile with the idea that it can be contentious? It can be an emotional space for people. Is that part of what you like about it, the fact that people are so invested in it?
I'm a very conflict-averse person. I really don't like getting into it with anybody. I want everyone around me to be happy. I certainly don't want to be the cause of anybody's unhappiness ever. That said, and then that's probably one of the reasons I like to work in this medium of theater and television, film, and play pretend, because I do think it is a place where you can, in a fairly safe way, and way in the back of your head, knowing that it's going to be okay, like, is you can explore these things and get into it. And that, I mean that in the course of, through a performance, and also through the course of development.
Yeah.
Because in a rehearsal room, you're working with emotions, and they can spill over and into arguments and sort of different viewpoints of the world. And I mean, I like that. I mean, and I think that you gotta like that, or you should do something else. You should write a book or paint a painting, or there's plenty of ways to pursue like expression in a solitary way. So I get frustrated with people that like don't like to collaborate. On the other side, like there is like I'm working with someone like Ira Sachs or Andrew Haigh. These are like auteurs, and they have vision. And if like I'm good to like be like, tell me what you want to do. This scene. This is all about camera. Like I'm not. So it goes both ways. Working on a new play, I've worked on a lot of new American plays over the years, and I love that because I love getting into the rehearsal room, figuring it out with everybody, with the writer, the director, the other actors, and sort of helping to shape this thing and breathe life into it and give it its sort of first step, like like filling up like the Snoopy whatever float for Thanksgiving, the night before Thanksgiving. I find that really exciting. And it's something that you do anyways on like a TV show or a movie, unless you're doing what's it called, a remake or something. But that process of creation is so much more protracted and in a rehearsal, because you got like 4+ weeks to do that. So you got a lot of time in the kitchen really working on that stuff. So I find that really exciting. And oftentimes when the rehearsal period is over, I'm kind of good. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I always say that I miss being in a band because I liked having band practice. I never really wanted to play shows. It's just a rare time to like be in a space creating with other people and like having that. And when we perform, it's not that it's close knit anymore. The creation is the sort of, at least for me as well, the exciting part.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that you're just exploring and pushing and trying to figure stuff out. And when there's an audience there, naturally there's going to be other. I will still try to explore, and I do, and play and fall on my face. I'm willing to try things always, but I think that's harder to do. I mean, what a privilege, what an honor to get to spend 4 weeks and get paid a little bit of money to fail and try ideas out. It's like it's a real joy. And I also think there's a safety there. Like the best acting I've ever seen in my life was probably in an acting class that I took when I was like 21, 22 years old, with a bunch of people that I don't know how many of them are even still acting, but because there was, these exercises and things, I would see people live these things out in such a pure, unselfconscious way. It was, I find that those spaces special.
Yeah. Talking about one of your collaborators, Io Debris, is also on Broadway here for the first time. Is that nice? The idea that you both are, though obviously you've done a lot of theater, this is your first Broadway time, I believe, and this is first. Has that been nice? Have you been able to see each other in that process? You're both sort of so deep into your thing.
I haven't seen anybody. I mean, I can barely see my family. I've seen Io a couple of times.
Did you give her any advice?
No, I'm not in a position to give anybody any advice at all. I mean, I'm certainly not. I don't know. I hope she's resting when she can. I don't think her play is open. I think they're in previews right now. And that's a hard play. She's got a very hard part. But she's like half my age, so she can. Or actually, no, I think maybe when I met her, she was half my age, but she's starting to catch up.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
It feels like y'all really, despite the age difference, and you came from different generations of show business, you did seem to bond quite quickly. Do you have a story that captures the sort of early memories of how you all connected?
I don't think I have one kind of story that can encapsulate that so well. We all took a boat ride when we were shooting the pilot. That was really nice. We went out on the lake in Chicago because the pilot we shot in July, as opposed to the series which we shoot like January, February, March, where you don't want to be on the lake in those months. So we had like one really beautiful like 8 hours cruising around on the lake there, jumping off the boat. That was fun, but I don't think that was like representative of our time in any way.
Since you've never done that again.
Yeah, we've literally never done that again. It is a good group that really gels and like is together, and that's through like casting director Jeannie Bachrach and through Chris Storr and Joanna Callow, and then a lot of luck.
Yeah. So I've waited about 30 minutes into the interview to reveal that we've met before.
Okay.
There'd be no reason why you remember it. It'd be actually quite weird if you remember. Like 20 years ago, I used to work at William Morris.
Okay.
And one of the jobs when you work in the mailroom at William Morris, at least at the time, was you would tape audition.
Oh, goodness. You probably heard me curse a lot.
Yes. So I often did like a lot of the comedy guys, did a lot of bench sports auditions, but and partly because, and maybe you won't like learning this, a lot of the girls had crushes on you. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to do your auditions.
Oh, okay.
But so I know I did at least a couple of yours, and there was, I remember one, I think it was for the movie Up in the Air. Nonetheless,
Up in the Air,
the Jason Reitman, George Clooney.
Oh, okay.
This is all to say, my memory of you was you were remarkably sincere, and you were doing really good acting for me. Like I appreciate it. I was very moved, but I was just like, this person is. You came off not even serious, just like really earnest and sincere. Was that a fair read of who you were as an actor in your early 20s? Or was it just that day? Or not early, it would be your late 20s.
It would be my late 20s, yeah. Was it just one time you taped me?
It's hard to, again, this is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, in general, like, were you a more serious actor? It's like, were you being like archetypal serious actor at that time?
I mean, I was younger, so I was probably, hopefully, stupider. Hopefully I mail it out a little bit. I don't think I was ever like self-important. I really hope I wasn't at that time. Yeah. But I was trying to get a job, and I was trying to do good work in an environment that's really not conducive to. There's absolutely nothing. There's nothing. Like anything like the taping room. William Moore's on the 35th floor or whatever that building is on 56th Street, and like Up in the Air. Like there's just. So I'm sure I was trying to connect with you because you're going to be like my lifeline. I wanted to really talk to you, and I wanted to be affected by the words coming out of your mouth. And maybe if I was having a good day, I was hoping to sort of, I don't know, have fun a little bit. But I think that's representative, maybe. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I had this sort of, again, fairly vague memory. I didn't know I'd one day interview you. I mean, I followed your career, but I was not thinking like, well, that's that guy. We had this very important connection. You did many auditions, I'm sure, at that time.
Oh, yeah. Hundreds.
Were you a good auditioner?
Nope. No, I was never a good auditioner. No. Not good at tapes, not good in the room with director. It's just not really, not a great auditioner. I think there's probably a lot of people. It's a very specific skill set.
Yeah.
That sometimes involves like a degree of like heightened kind of confidence and walking into a room with like a swagger and a kind of magnetism that I just don't really have. And I also think that like, I don't know, I'm always just more interested in the person I'm playing rather than myself or something. I don't know.
So from that point on, I would follow your career, and watching at the time, Girls felt like a breakout because you were able to sort of capture the sort of sincerity that's in you, but also sort of be able to make fun of it at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And we talk a lot about at work how, especially with that show, so many people were able to go on to so much because Lena was able to write and see people in ways that then allowed everyone to see them. What do you think is about that show or her writing that really like offered like a skeleton key or what's the Rosetta Stone for people? Like, how did she see people? What was the gift that she had?
I don't know. I mean, she's laser-like. I mean, and her eye, she's like, I don't know, like a butterfly that can see like 20,000 colors or something, like where they have these little like animal facts. She just sees stuff that is on like, or like people that read faces that can see like micro expressions. She's got that level of insight. and she's so funny, and so she has that level of insight too, with like micro strata and micro cultures, like the difference between South Greenpoint and North Greenpoint. You know what I mean? She can really get into the weeds there, and like I enjoy that too.
Yeah.
And so we found common ground there, and we're really able to send up this character that I was playing in a fun way, because to be honest, like I love a lot of the same things that Desi loved. Like I was, and this is like our peak artisanal Brooklyn, and I was like, I like an indigo, I like a nice Japanese kind of thing, whatever, but like, but I also realized how like kind of ridiculous it was. And also he was, he was a real baby, which is really fun and funny. And then again, like earlier to what we're talking about comedy, he's just like deeply committed, deeply serious.
Do you have a distinct memory from shooting any of it? Is there an episode or a scene or anything that, like, when you think about the show, you think about that time?
I have a lot of memories of shooting Girls. We laughed a lot. We wrote a lot of it on the day, Lena and Jenny, and then sometimes myself. I would always like offer things up, and we would go back and forth and play around. And there was a lot of times where we would rehearse the scene in the beginning of the day, and then Lena and Jenny would go away for a little while and write and come back, and we'd sort of with a reinvented version of it. Yeah, it was just such a pleasure. I really loved going to that set every single day. And I mean, this we did the like the Straw Dogs takeoff where they're out in the country. They do like an Airbnb up on like Woodstock or something, and that's when we revealed that like Desi's popping a lot of pills and is like a painkiller addict, and he punches through the glass, and that was a lot of fun. I liked that one a lot.
So in almost every profile of you, you push back on the desire to be the narrative that finally at 40 whatever years old, you get your big break. You seem to have enjoyed the career that you had before the bear happened.
Yeah.
You seem to be like, I had a successful career. I thought of yourself as successful. So before that, like, how were you feeling before you even knew a thing like the bear could happen? Because how would you know? Even when you probably signed on to the bear, you weren't like, oh, this FX show will be what it became because of the timing of it.
Yeah.
How are you thinking? We're like, I'm completely content. This is exactly the career that I was hoping for. How did you talk about?
Let's see. When I went to make the pilot of the bear, I flew from London where I was working on Star Wars with Tony Gilroy.
Yeah.
And my family was with me, my teenage daughters and my incredible artist wife, and we were all together. And so I was like, I was good. You know, I mean, I've been doing this a very long time. It's always been my only job. So I think that I was building I'm very, very proud of the life that I've been managed, and I've been lucky enough to sort of eke out for myself and with my family. So, and also, I was by the time I was 30, I was a dad.
Yeah.
And I think the 30s, especially for people in my job and other things, it can become very career forward, can become very me, and all that stuff. And I was, from before that, I was already like not the most important part of my life.
Yeah.
I had these other people that were like, I was much more into them than me. And so I think that just put everything, I was lucky, and that put everything in a lot more perspective for me.
Do you think when they go to college that will change? That you'll be like, now is my time?
Maybe. No, one of my older daughter's at art school now, and she's in college, and my younger daughter's in 10th grade. So I'm still trying to find the balance. I mean, I have been, like you said at the outset, I've had a very, very busy year. So definitely I've been spending more time working than with my family, and that's a struggle, and it's hard for me, and that's hard for them. And they are very generous with me and allow, encourage me to go off and to do these things. But it's a struggle. Balance, I think, is always a really hard thing to find with anything, always, from day to day and from year to year.
When you first read the Bear pilot script, what were you most excited about?
Oh my God, that pilot script was so great. I've said this before, but like all those characters really jumped out. They were like very, very realized. And especially Richie, to me, felt like reminded me of so many people that I knew, and also we were in such a height of isolation, and this guy was just like this like anti-isolation crusader. He was like, take a bite of his like wet beef sandwich. He didn't give a fuck. About that. Like, and it's just like he was like from a different generation. He had like a different code that really like appealed to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of it did.
Who was he in the first episode? Especially because you're pilot, you don't know much else. Like what did you know about him? How would you characterize him if you were telling people like, oh, I'm shooting this show. This is this guy. This is his current state.
He was like a man, a man who was grieving the death of like his best friend, and he was trying to hold on. There's all these things, these signposts or lighthouses, whatever you want to call these things in his life that were going away, and he was losing all these things that were how he could sort of create his own identity.
Yeah,
his best friend, who was sort of the leader of the house. Richie was kind of adopted by the Berzatos, so it was like his brother essentially, and his hero in many ways. And then it seems like the beef, the place where he spends all his days and a lot of his nights, that place seems like it's going under, and the whole neighborhood is changing. Yeah. And I've said this a lot, like I fully understand that living in a town like New York, and every time I'm away, when I come back and drive around, it's like, okay, what's new? And I feel very much like a lot like a tourist in my own town. Coming down here was kind of wild. I like coming down to this because like I'm never down in this neighborhood. I'm not good with money.
Yeah.
They don't let me in the financial district too much. But it's so cool down here. It's like so much stuff I never see.
Yeah.
It's like all these great looking like ancient bars and weird like off track betting stuff. It's a whole other thing down here. Anyways, so yeah, he was like a man whose identity was kind of melting away from him. And he was trying to grab onto it and preserve it.
And so the last we see him at the end of season 4, Sid says for her to take over the bear. She want Richie to be equal partner.
Yeah.
And and a lot goes on your face, and how do you respond to that? What does that mean to that character? What did you want to convey?
Well, I think his first instinct is fear that she's doing it out of some kind of proprietary, it's an inauthentic overture. And he's like, I think he says something like, I don't want to be the mayor of St. Patrick's Day or something like that, which is like such a funny line. And then she reassures him that, no, this is like, she genuinely wants him there. And to be equal partners. And I think it's a scary prospect, and it's like when you hear, you're getting what you've always wanted, your most secret and public heart's desire. It's scary and it's beautiful and it's everything. I mean, acting wise, I think that kind of a moment can probably hold any sort of reaction, and it would play. I don't remember exactly what happened. I haven't seen that episode, to be honest. We did that scene a few times. I don't remember what I did, but
so in your head, you have all the options of what he might have done because you gave.
I allowed myself to have any kind of reaction to that at all. It wasn't a prescriptive sort of thing.
So it's like you have a sort of multiverse understanding of it, where you're like, okay, there's the world in which you responded this way, and then whatever the final product is. You seem you almost. I mean, I'll tell you how, if I remember correctly. Essentially, it almost felt like you were in the army and someone's like, you are now promoted to a new level being and you're like, I will serve, like it is your duty and you feel honored.
Oh, right. He gets quite maybe officious in a way, right? Like,
he like kind of stiffens. It truly is like he stands up straight in a way that's really interesting.
Yeah. That makes sense. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it did a great.
And they've obviously, they've had that their relationship is maybe, I don't know if it's the biggest, but where they start out, Sydney and Richie, and where they wind up, I mean, they travel a pretty far distance to get where they are together, and so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you think of him as a character that changes during the run of the show?
Oh my God, so much, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Well, because we saw him in Grief, I was like, well, maybe he doesn't change. He's just like return. I don't know. I was just sort of curious how you thought of the arc.
I think, again, just about
like, is he restoring?
We find him in. I don't.
Yeah.
How do people change?
Yeah.
Change is such a strange thing. And does it? How does it happen? Does it happen slowly? Does it happen quickly? I don't know. It's all those things.
Yeah.
And when you change, you change right back, most of the time. I think for him, it's a lot of grief and healing, and not being able to envision much of a future, and not wanting to think about the future, and having a daughter that he's not getting to be with much, and mourning a friend who's died, and mourning a relationship, a wife that's no longer in love with him. And then over the course of the show, he starts to have some things that wake him up and excite him and make him think about what he wants to do during the day.
Yeah.
And obviously that Forks episode became something that I never thought it would, and like a real, I don't know, lightning rod. It's something that I've had literally hundreds of conversations with people who are so moved and emotionally moved, and then also like behaviorally moved by that and inspired, and like, from pretty dark places. And I mean, I didn't write that episode, I didn't direct it. I got to be the face of it. And for that, I'm forever grateful. I didn't enjoy making it. It was very lonely. I've missed being with all my friends from the Bear, but the fact that I got to take a guy who was so angry and so tightly wound and so in so much despair, and have him have like a victory, and like tasting sauces and like, oh, you can, these kind of like childlike explosions of joy. That's like great. And I'm always looking when I'm playing a character for their joy, for their happy ending. Like, where's the light? Like, I think it's very hard to root for a character if you don't see what they want for themselves. If they're just in a pain cave the whole time, and you don't see like, what is it like for you? What are you fighting for? It's very hard for me as an audience member to have that. And it's really fun to get to play somebody who's celebrating and having a moment of being bathed in the light and feeling the sun on their face and feeling good about themselves. That doesn't happen a lot, in drama, because it's not oftentimes all that interesting.
John Mulaney was recently on a podcast, and he was talking about filming Fishes, the episode from season 2, where there's the big nonstop fighting over Christmas. Yeah. And it was a very funny take, and he was being funny on purpose, but he said he found it very scary. He found like that in scenes, he was like legitimately scared of the actors when they were screaming. I think based on how it was shot, he would walk into rooms and Jamie Lee Curtis would be yelling at someone, and he'd be like, I'm just going to get out of here. And he said like he'd be in a scene and all he'd be thinking was like, they think they're that person.
Oh. John was very quiet when we were shooting that. I remember thinking like, I kept trying to ask him questions because I think he's so funny and so brilliant. I wanted to just listen to him telling stories, but he was quite shy when we shot that thing. And I guess he was just thinking, oh my God, that person is that person.
Yeah, he truly was like, I'd be talking to John Barenthal or Sarah Paulson or James. He's like, I think they think like, and he didn't know who he could talk to. The sense that he got was just, there's one moment recalling his story where he improvised, Jamie Lee Curtis yells at Sarah Paulson. He improvised like, hey, hey, hey. And then Jamie goes like, shut up, don't hey, hey. Yeah. And he's like, I'm done.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. One thing that was interesting about that, or I think it was interesting about that episode, and first of all, you get in these rooms and you think everyone's like, I was intimidated by everybody. Everyone is scared and insecure in these situations. Like, all of a sudden all these great actors showed up, and like we usually go to work in vans, like in these 15 pass like Ford vans, and all of a sudden there was like black SUV. And I was like, oh, okay. And like we had different snacks. I think that all those people like Sarah Paulson and John and Jamie Lee, obviously, and why am I
Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, Bob, like, they were there because they liked the show and loved the show and revered the show. And so I think they were all nervous too, but I was certainly nervous to have all these kind of heavy hitters there.
You're not shooting that scared. Or are you one of the people that thinks you're the person that time? Are you more like John or more like John's perception of Jamie? Jamie, if in John's idea, Jamie was, I'm the mom right now, I'm this person on set. And then John is, I'm being John Mulaney right now, I'm saying these lines. Are you somewhere in between those two? Like when you're doing it, how deep in it, how much?
I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. That's not like, I'm always me, you're just trying to, it's some kind of heady cocktail of identity. It's not, but I would imagine that Jamie Lee is also like, she's in the scene and she's doing the thing, and John, said, hey, and she said, don't, hey. She's a good actor. She spent thousands of hours of her life doing it, and she knows how to like play ball.
Yeah. How was there a time where you ever were like, if I'm acting, I'm that person were you ever fully method? Do you not believe in, what do you think about that as a style? The full, I'm not me way of approaching it?
I don't know. I find this this kind of like dilemma. First of all, I think nobody has any idea what the fuck they're talking about for the most part. It just seems like it seems like a fake kind of argument or like clickbait or something.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel, like a rumble in the Bronx with like, the Stella Adler school versus, the Sanford Meisners, and they're all like out there like whatever, improv off or something. I don't know, like private momenting off. I don't know. It's always different for me. Yeah. Each job is different. Each part is different. Each scene is different. I'm trying to create as much reality for myself, and I'm trying to use as much of myself as I can, but then there's just so much imagination. And I think that that's what I'm attracted to about this job, is getting to daydream and getting to think about other people and myself in different situations and different ways of being. And I don't know, it's like it's good for empathy.
Yeah.
I think it's good. And this is why I like to listen. I think that that's really, really important. There's moments, acting takes a lot of concentration in a really weird way. But the last thing I want to be thinking about when I'm in a scene is myself. And all I'm trying to do is put my attention on my scene partner, physical reality, the reality of the circumstances of the scene. What are we trying to get? What are the things that are like, what are the obstacles? What are, basic stuff. And I'm just trying to give myself fully over to that stuff.
Yeah.
So if I'm starting to think about myself, it's diminishing returns.
Yeah.
There's no happiness over in there. So
that makes sense. Though, regardless of if The Bear is or is not a comedy, it seems like for you, it is in shooting, like you describe, like you think of it like you're on Taxi. Sometimes you would say,
yeah, it feels like that to me. Like,
yeah, where it's like you're on a workplace sitcom because it is fun to shoot the show, even if it seems like it's scary to shoot the show. What does it look like in practice?
Yeah, I've said this a lot. Like it is a really warm set, and I think it's smart to have such a cozy kind of set, because everyone feels taken care of and entitled to contribute, and like their voice matters, and it not like, oh, if I say something, I'm going to get shot down, or I'm going to feel like an idiot, or I'm going to be ridiculed. So it's a very collaborative space, and I think a lot of if the show works, a lot of that is because of that reason. And, you asked me about what I was like when I was younger, and I did think maybe to some extent there was some of an idea about suffering for art or things had to be really hard. And I think that is the case a lot of the time. And certainly doing this play, it's quite hard, and I do have to spend a lot of time in some sort of unpleasant headspaces. But I also believe in people being together and being with each other and having a good time, and out of the feeling of security and being taken care of comes a relaxation and a generosity and an ability to sort of share things that I also think is really beautiful and can be surprising and equally powerful.
Yeah. You used to play Dungeons and Dragons when you were a kid?
Yeah, I did.
One, what was that like? But when I hear you talk about acting, I often feel like it kind of feels like that, like the ideal of like we're building a world together, and this is like what we're doing for fun.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
You agree?
I agree.
Do you still have you played? What's the last time you played? I guess you now.
I think probably I haven't played since I was maybe in 5th grade. Or
I guess you
something
now
like
get
that.
to do it all.
There was an amazing, I grew up outside of Amherst, Massachusetts, and I would go to this after-school program every day after school when I was in elementary school, and there's a man named S.U. Bumpus who's a professional storyteller. Like that's what he did, in Western Massachusetts you can
do that.
You can do that sometimes. And just a beautiful person, an incredibly inspiring man, a great musician, incredible storyteller. And he was running this after school program, and he would be our dungeon master. So we didn't, we had the books, but this was not a very, I'm sure like real D&D people would think that this was a joke, because he would really make up a lot of these stories, and we would have the books a little bit and do the dice things, but it was not official at all. This was and I felt great because he allowed me, and when I was 3rd grade, I was maybe one of the 2 3rd graders that he would allow to be in his game, because it was more the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. So I felt really cool and an adult, that I had my shit together enough to like be able to come in from the kickball field and like actually like play with these the big kids. And beautiful, like great afternoons.
Yeah. Are you allowed to? It's unclear. Are you allowed to confirm that this is the final season of The Bear?
I don't know if it. I don't think I'm allowed to confirm or not or anything. Or I don't even think that I'm a reliable source of any information about anything.
In my head, you're more reliable than Jamie Lee Curtis was the last person I think who's confirmed it.
Yeah.
And
Jamie Lee Curtis says a lot of shit, man. She says a lot of stuff, that Jamie Lee. God bless her. I love her.
Without spoiling it, what can you tell? You shot it. What can you tell us without telling us any details of the show?
What can I say? I think it's.
Or what left do you feel like, in so much he has changed, and this feels like a culmination a lot for lots. Before we knew there was going to be a 5th season, people were like, I guess it's the end of the 4th season, and it's like, in many ways, there's a world of the show where this can be an end of her arc for Richie. What else does...
Oh, you mean like the 4th, like the end of the 4th season could have kind of ended it? Endings are hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the 5th season is another level of sophistication. I think it's gotten richer. I'm talking about camera, tone, writing. I think it refines every year. It's a very ambitious season in the way that the first season was, in terms of having a lot of a kind of symphonic, chaotic thing going. It's a lot of people working together, trying to work together. Maybe that's a better way to say it. I just think that the writing's gotten better, the actors have gotten better, the camera team's gotten. Everyone's like really was operating on a pretty high level.
When you go to nice restaurants now, do you get like crushed with free additions?
After the first season came out, I think everybody got a lot of things sent out from the kitchen. Now it doesn't happen anymore. I was like, I took my daughter out for dinner last night, and we were just, paid the bill like all the rest of the slobs out there. You're like all the workers up.
You're like, do we need to order dessert? Maybe let's not order dessert.
No, I will say, when I go out with a chef, when I go out with Maddie Matheson or some chef friends that I made over, then it's different. But there's a different. We were treated like chefs for the first season. For that, after that first kind of thing, I feel like felt like embraced by that community. And then they're like, yeah, you guys are you're just playing pretend. We do this for real all the time. It's a lot harder.
When the story came out about Noma and Rene Redzepi, like the nature of his abuses, as a person who shot the show, were you like, do you feel like you saw that story differently than people, like from the perspective of shooting that show? Did that when you read that story, assume if you heard about that story?
I read some of that story. Was it New York Magazine?
No, I think the first one was the
Was the
Time.
Times? Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know much about Noma. To me, that sounds like way too long to spend at a restaurant. Like I can't sit anywhere for like 5 hours. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like he was a dick. I do know that there's a culture of that in restaurants that's being, that's probably generations
Yeah.
old, and that's just sort of people learned how that was done, like in many other professions, and seems to be going away. I don't know. I hope it continues to go away.
Fair. I want to talk a little bit about Fantastic Four because hypothetically we'll be seeing you in these movies for a while, and specifically the part of the thing. Not unlike the question I asked at the very beginning of this interview, how do you're taking on a character that there's been 9,000 interpretations of, both either on camera but also like each comic book writer has a different thing. How do you honor the history of the character but then also make it your own?
I read so many comic books. It's like playing a real person. Like I would, it's the closest thing I ever did to it was like when I played John Quincy Adams in the John Adams miniseries, and he had like a huge public memoir and then a private memoir that was published posthumously. And it's like I just had so much, I could just open up and point to a little thing. It's like, oh, there's another detail. Same thing, just tens of thousands of pages of stuff about Ben Grimm. Did I read them all? No. Did I read a lot? Absolutely. And then it's just gonna be it's always gonna be different because everyone's just just the nature of people are different. Because it was performance capture and because he was a man that was really intimate with the other members of this little de facto family of Fantastic Four, with Reed and Sue and Johnny. It was important to me to be as Ebon-like or whatever and human as possible, for the sake of my scene partners and for the sake of myself. So and again, I was there in my little stretchy, not very cool looking outfit, but when I was doing a scene with Pedro and we were, looking out of the ship, we look into each other's eyes. And I think that was really helpful.
Yeah.
Because I think that's probably what they see when they look at Ben,
Yeah, I think your task is similar to what Ben's task is, which is like many in the comics, he's searching for the humanity as a person who's a monster, and you are doing essentially the same thing.
Exactly.
I don't know if this is sort of a gray area in my mind in terms of spoiler. I'm not going to ask you for plot details, but I am going to ask you, I want to ask some emotional questions about the thing that have not necessarily been revealed, in so much as at different times in the comics, he has different relationships to the sort of gift and curse of what happened to him. Often he's depicted as very lonely, and he has a low self-esteem, or there's self-loathing about it. How would you capture where he is? Like, how would you convey where he is kind of right now with the fact that he is a rock guy? Like, do you feel like largely is accepted when you're playing it? You have those few scenes where there definitely is something, but I was curious how you saw it. And maybe this is spoiler, but if it is, we can avoid parts of it.
I imagine like most people, it's day to day. It's very hard to have a relationship. Obviously he does, with Alicia Masters, and then in Fantastic Four, there's the beginning of a relationship with Rachel Rosman. I think that's the name of Natasha Lyonne's character. But, how far can things go? I think it's frustrating. Would he rather be in human form? I think that's probably, when you're saving people and helping, it's a responsibility. It's the age old superhero question, like responsibility and power and and higher calling and all that stuff. I don't know.
He's of the more interesting ones because I mean he in this sort of Spider-Man league of like, can he be a person? Not like right. The other Fantastic Four can mask in a way that he can because he's a big rock guy and even when he puts on a hat and
oh yeah, they are also having more sex than he is.
Yeah,
so that already is a huge life improvement for them.
Yeah, I think so. He is also the Fantastic Four often or sometimes is an allegory for fame, and like he of all them again like a celebrity he is famous in the world and he can't wear a baseball hat that covers his eyes and people not know him. I was curious, your relationship to fame, it seemed like not a thing you wanted. And I imagine there are things you are averse to it, but as you're entering into this world that like has the potential to make you an internationally known person, are there things that you're trying to put in place to make sure it does not take over your work?
I mean, I don't think that. I don't know. I don't think that like, and I'm not talking about myself here. I just think I'm just saying in general. I don't think that like fame and celebrity. And this is not going to be very revolutionary. What I'm going to say, but like, I don't think that fame and celebrity is very helpful for an actor unless you want to portray like kings or movie stars or something. So, as nice as it is, getting like a good table at you know what I mean, like that kind of. I just think that there's, and I'm not a very famous person, so I don't really know, but I just think that that's like there's more interesting.
Yeah, no, it is a thing that you seem to. I think a lot of actors before they get famous value the ability to observe people, and that becomes much harder when you are a famous person because a lot of people are looking at you, and you're not, as you said, right now, not that famous. You're famous, but not like you're not Robert Downey Jr. right now.
Correct. No.
But you're going to be pretty big. These are pretty big movies.
Yeah, but one of the reasons that I really liked Fantastic Four was that I am really incognito, and there's probably less than 1 minute of my actual face in it, and that was a huge draw. And I was like, "Oh, this is great because this is potentially I can get all the upside of it in terms of getting to me in a position where I can help get movies made and on smaller movies and do those kinds of things that I want to do, and have this great Marvel experience and work on this like huge movie, but then but not really be I don't know." Bombarded all the time. You know?
That is a good point. Where like I can't imagine there's a really good run where the thing gets to be not in the rocks for a week. Have you read that issue? And
yeah, but there's like the puppet. I mean, there's a thing where like every year on his birthday he gets to revert to his human form.
Yes, but I can't imagine that's going to happen. But I do think you get the benefits, but not like you can. It helps if you want to do more Broadway plays, that's the type of thing that helps a ton of it. So now it's time for the final segment. I'm seeing if they have any. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. But I'm just the final. That sounded severe.
No.
That's the final.
It's like a lightning round, but these questions are not. You don't have to answer them quickly. They're just questions I ask every time. So as a result, I put them at the end.
Okay.
But I have not thought of a different name for it. This is the final segment.
Okay. Final segment.
However you want to answer this.
Mm-hmm.
How much money do you have or make?
I took the subway to my dentist appointment this morning. I biked to our meeting.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a car to the play tonight.
Yeah.
So how is that?
That is a perfect answer.
I don't know. I'm already filled with regret for answering a question like that. I don't know. I would like to answer it with a gesture that you couldn't hear on the podcast, but I can't think of what that gesture would be.
Well, the camera, that's your camera.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
What is your concerns, or if you have any optimism around AI and your industry?
Oh, yeah. I mean, no thanks. I think already so much stuff feels like it's made by AI, and it's just lazy and depressing, and not, I don't think, at the end of the day, what people want out of stories.
Yeah.
And yeah, no thanks.
In your opinion, who's the greatest actor alive?
I imagine, and I'm not trying to be coy, but I imagine the greatest actor alive is probably an actor that none of us know, we've never seen. There's probably, maybe they don't even know themselves that what a great actor they are. In a more satisfying, direct way to answer, who's great American actors? I think Peter Sarsgaard is one of our great actors. I think Jesse Buckley's so brilliant, obviously. Who else do I get really excited about? Benicio del Toro, I always am so thrilled to watch him. I'm just thinking of I think Jeremy Allen White is pretty incredible actor. I think probably my favorite actor is the recently departed Robert Duvall, and Gene Hackman. Those two are guys that I've always looked up to. Who did such a variety of work, and we're always so truthful and authentic.
You got to work with Gene, correct? And Tenenbaums?
Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, I think I was there for a day, and I think we were probably in the same room just when the cameras were rolling. I remember his stand-in more than I remember him. Yeah.
What was the stand-in like?
Oh, his stand-in looked a lot like him and was as gruff as you would imagine Gene Hackman was. He didn't disappoint. He was great.
What is the best time you bombed? Can you think of a time you've bombed or had a really bad day on set or on stage?
I mean, there was a long period, and it's where I just hated every day. I never the drive home from work was always horrible, and I just thought about all the missed opportunities and all the things I didn't do. And it was just filled with regret and wishing I could go back. That's one of the nice reasons of doing a play is you do get another crack at it, for every single time except the last time, so that'll be a lonely ride home. But yeah, I can't think of any specific time, but it's fraught. It's not easy.
Can you think of a creative decision or a choice that you wanted to make in some sort of setting that everyone shot down, but you'll go to a grave being like, I was right, that would have been better, or that would have been good, or that would have been aligned?
I mean, I know when John and I were working on the first season of The Punisher, I'm always looking for unconventional and surprising things. I'm always looking for humor a lot of the time in sort of more serious situations, because I think that's true to life. And I think we had a lot of ideas that were vetoed and not really given life or not really even considered that would have made the show better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.